Hello, this lesson is on Geology Standard 3.6, Protecting Earth's Resources. In this lesson, we will discuss soil erosion and soil conservation, or how we can protect our soil, and then we'll get into freshwater quality and how we can protect our freshwater. So let's first begin by discussing the importance of soil. As you know, soil is needed for agriculture. Without good, rich topsoil, farmers can't plant the crops to provide our society with needed food. So essentially, that soil is the foundation on which our society is fed. So what exactly is soil erosion? What's the problem here? Well, actually, more soil is lost to erosion than created due to natural processes. Or in other words, we're losing more soil than we're making. In the top picture there, you can see how actually the water carried the soil right away. In the bottom two pictures, you see this as it's happening. Do you see how the water is dark with soil particulates and sediment? That's because it's carrying all those fragments with it. So what exactly causes this erosion? Actually, almost all human activity can cause soil loss. Construction, deforestation, livestock grazing, farming, all of this can cause soil loss. So think about what happens when you actually build a home. Before you can build a home, you have to clear cut it. So you're removing all of the plants and the roots that are holding that soil in place. Then you're even adding paved roads. Well, that's removing soil also. All of this is a huge factor in soil loss. So what exactly are the consequences of erosion or soil loss? Well, we're losing that rich topsoil needed for agriculture, but we're also contaminating nearby water, including lakes and streams. Soil and water almost acts like a pollutant, and it can actually cause more damage to our lakes and streams than we perhaps realize. So what can you do? Actually, a lot of farmers are being very proactive, and they're taking drastic measures to reduce the amount of soil that they're losing from their fields. And they're doing that by using this thing called a no-till planter. So essentially, they're able to plant their fields with this planter without having to till or break up the soil first. And this really reduces the amount of soil that's able to be carried away by water or by rain. Also, a lot of construction companies, they use silt fences. I'm sure you've seen these before. And this is really used just to collect the silt or rocks or dirt and to make sure it doesn't go into the water or streams. So as we kind of hinted at earlier, too much soil, especially fertilized soil, when it's in the water, acts like a pollutant that essentially chokes out the water body with plant growth. So if you look in the picture on the right, you can see how this aquatic plant, and what I mean by aquatic plant is just a plant in water, you can see how it's essentially choking out that lake. If this gets to be too bad, it can actually kill off the fish and other life within that lake. It can be a very serious problem, actually. So how do geologists, actually if they're studying water they're called hydrologists, but how do hydrologists measure water quality? Well, one thing they look at is dissolved oxygen, or the amount of oxygen in the dissolved form in water. And again, this is produced either from the air or from aquatic plants who produce it through photosynthesis. Do you remember this from your cells unit? Should be review. Also, these hydrologists consider temperature. Warm water does not hold dissolved oxygen well. So the warmer the water, the less oxygen. The colder the water, the more oxygen. Furthermore, hydrologists look at turbidity. Turbidity just means how cloudy the water is. And they use this instrument called a Secchi disc. I've included pictures of a Secchi disc here on the right. And really a Secchi disc is just a painted disc that is only black and white. And what these scientists do is they lower the disc down as far as they can while still seeing it, and then they measure that depth. That Secchi depth tells them just the clarity of the water. Okay, scientists also look at nitrates and phosphate levels in the water. Nitrates and phosphates are just chemicals found in fertilizers, and these chemicals can make those aquatic plants, including algae, grow very, very quickly. So as you can see on the picture on the right, that algae has grown so quickly that it's essentially choking out the lake. Scientists also look at pH, or the acidity of the water. Most lakes and streams should be around 7, but after like a rain event where the lake may be exposed to acid rain, that pH may actually go down to around 6. So what can you do? Well, there are a couple things you can do. One, you can plant a buffer zone. A buffer zone is just an area where you've planted trees and shrubs or flowers, and all this is doing is keeping the soil intact because the roots are so strong that they actually hold that soil in place. Furthermore, don't let animals get into the water. Their waste is actually very, very high in phosphorus. And remember, we discussed in the last slide that phosphorus makes the aquatic plant life grow very, very quickly, and we want to keep that out of our water. Most importantly, be informed. Understand and know what you can do and what some of the consequences are if we don't follow through on that. Alright, well that actually finishes up this lesson for Geology Standard 3.6. I'm actually very passionate about this, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you about it. Alright, good luck with all your pieces of evidence. I wish you the best.